Hey, everybody out there in YouTube land. It's Saturday. You know what that means. Time for another, I guess, the reborn episode of ABW Detonate right here on YouTube. I am the old school AB, and with me today, you might see a little bit of a different vibe here on the ABW channel. We are going away from gaming. Not that I'll ever not do gaming, but you know, for the time being, we're going to go away from gaming. And we're going to talk a little wrestling. That's the thing that I've always wanted to do, and by God, here we are, and we're going to frickin' do it. And I found just the guy, just the man to help me do it. You might say he's a kind man. You might say he's the kind man. Welcome to ABW, Mr. Kind Man.
Glad to be here. It's different than watching you fight with your paddle, but we could talk about wrestling going on.
That's right. I miss my paddle. I've still got my paddle. Do you know that this is so stupid? I'm going to say this out loud. I actually bought WWE 2K23 for the PC, and I have not played it. I thought to myself, you know, maybe I'll get into playing some other video game. Maybe it's just, you know, me. Maybe it's the AEW game. Maybe that sucks. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just not into it, man. Just not into playing video games. I don't know. I'm stealing your show here. Go for it, buddy.
Glad to be here.
Glad to be here. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. This is what I do all the time, man. I jump into conversations and I've cut people off, and I don't mean to do it. But let's get right into it then. Let's talk a little bit about who we are. So we're going to do a little bit of a reintroduction for those of you who didn't catch any of the previous ABW episodes where I, as Biff said, was an old man playing the paddle there a little bit. But we have a new format today, and I want to introduce the kind man. Why don't you take us through a little bit about your childhood and your fandom growing up? What is it that made you a huge wrestling fan, and how long have you been watching, and what are some of your favorite memories?
So I'd say I've been watching since the early 80s, when wrestling was on Saturday mornings, and you know, kind of the golden age with Andre the Giant, King Kong Bundy, Hogan. Right. All of that growing up. My first favorite wrestler was why am I drawing a blank here? Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Very good.
And he probably was one of the few throughout my wrestling fandom that was actually a good guy. I've always kind of gravitated toward the heels, towards the bad guys. You know, I went to a lot of live events as a kid because we had one major venue like 10 minutes from my house. You know, I saw Andre the Giant versus King Kong Bundy in a steel cage. You know, Don Morocco versus Ricky the Dragon. Those were the matches I grew up on. Yeah. I hated Hulk Hogan from the first time I saw him and did not understand why everyone loved him. And that's where I kind of got into kind of the heel and the bad guy persona, which I just fell in love. Although I'm very much a very nationalistic person, I fell in love with the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov as a tag team. I had all the wrestling figures growing up, you know, everything, you know, so, you know, watched it when it started on Monday nights and when it was Sunday nights and all of that. And I've been watching ever since, with a few breaks in the last 30 years here and there. In downtimes, but been watching pretty regularly.
How did you discover it? Were you just flipping through channels one day, or was it just on in the house?
I think I've always been into sports and athletes. So, and just as a kid at that age, 6, 7 years old, in the late 70s, early 80s, I was jumping off couches and doing things, and all of a sudden I see Ricky the Dragon on the top rope, jumping and just landing on somebody. It was like, oh my! And then to see. You know, and by the way, Ricky the Dragon, if you look at it, his finishing move is very, very tame if it was translated into 2023. But then you saw someone like Snuka go off the top rope and really do it, and transitioning to like Eddie Guerrero's frog splash and stuff like that. I've always loved that. But my all-time favorite wrestler,
nice,
The Undertaker.
Check that out. Got
Yeah,
the
this
Undertaker belt. He's pulled it out, folks.
30th anniversary special edition
Look at that.
Undertaker belt, which is badass.
Hell yeah.
Uh, but I fell in love with him and Paul Bearer, as that heel. Like, I loved that, like, Survivor Series when he beat Hogan for the title. Like,
Oh
they're
yeah.
they're spanning to kids in the crowd crying, and it was just it was wonderful. And that was probably, I was in high school at that time. And
Sure.
we actually had a WWF at the time, I think it was
Yeah.
WWF fan club in my high school. And we went to a live event, and the day after the live, and we went as a club, and the day after the live event, we took a picture for the high school yearbook. And I was looking at it the other day. I'm sitting there in my high school yearbook picture of the WWE fan club, and I got a foam tombstone in my hand that I had bought the night before at the Hartford Civic Center, for a Monday night, taping.
Right.
But it was, so I Undertaker, followed him for, I mean, geez, 30 years,
Right.
25 years, whatever it
Right.
was with him.
Well, I've got a question about that coming up though. So don't forget that. Don't forget to remind me if I forget. I want to ask you about
Okay.
that, the Undertaker
And then
specifically.
I'd say to transfer to my current favorite wrestler, and I know
Right.
everyone could probably predict this, is Chelsea Green.
Right.
So yeah,
She's
I'm
awesome.
probably the only one who that's my current favorite wrestler.
No, she's awesome. She's definitely awesome. She has that that Mall Valley Girl vibe to her, doesn't she? Like that, just
Yeah.
that mean girl in high school, I guess. That's what you.
Which is
Yeah.
the way that one ring announcer. I hate whenever there's another ring announcer that doesn't announce her name that way.
Right.
The female one, because she hits it perfect. It's how all the uncool girls at school pronounce Chelsea Green,
Yes.
rolling their eyes, and I think she plays her character perfectly.
Oh yeah. No, it's a fantastic thing to witness. I love that as well. And I have to make a confession. I've only recently started getting back into WWE wrestling. For the longest time, I took a break from that, but we can get into that too. So I'm still kind of rediscovering some of these new faces in WWE. I've known who Chelsea Green is for the longest time, but I've never seen her in ring work until recently. So, but yeah, solid player.
I think her character is better than her in-ring work.
Yeah, sure. She's better than I thought she would be. Can I say that and not offend people? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what counts as offensive these days. So.
Oh well, pretty much everything.
Everything counts as offensive. So,
yeah,
folks, we're going to be offensive. That's the bottom line here on ABW.
If you're offended by bad language,
right?
Maybe not the show for you.
Right. We say a lot of fucks here.
Yes.
I don't know. We should do an episode where I go through and I listen to the thing very carefully and do a fuck counter for every time I say it.
Ding, ding.
Yeah, it would just be in there. That'd be hilarious. But no, that's amazing, dude. And Mr. Kind Man, if you would tell us about some of your maybe your most favorite wrestling moment of all, or was it the Hulkamania thing?
I mean,
on the
my
Tombstone.
favorite.
Yeah,
I think so I've been to 3 Royal Rumbles.
Okay.
I've been to multiple. I don't even know. Can't count how many Monday Night Raws and
Sure.
SmackDowns and things like that. But I've been to 3 Royal Rumbles. So I love that. That's my favorite pay-per-view of the year.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite result ever was when The Undertaker took the belt from Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
But that match also had some holes in it. That match was executed amazingly, but I loved the result of it. I think my favorite match of all time that I probably watch maybe 2 or 3 times a year again is Undertaker versus Mankind in Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
It's the match I show to everyone, and obviously people watching know very much about what wrestling is and what it is not. Everyone that always gave me the fake line, quote unquote, it's fake.
Mm-hmm.
I have them sit down and watch that match.
Yeah.
'Cause there's nothing fake about any of that. Is it scripted? And by the way, that match had to go off script because of how crazy it got
Yeah.
anyway. So that match was scripted, but not scripted the way it occurred, just because of multiple craziness, and Mick Foley deciding that he wanted to make history that night. And so that's, I would say that's my favorite match of all time. But my favorite event annually, even when I took a break from watching wrestling, every year I have not missed one Royal Rumble. It's my favorite match.
Nice. And I too love the Royal Rumble. I love the anticipation. That was probably one of the greatest match creations in wrestling history.
I mean, have Battle Royals as a whole. Battle Royals as a whole were always the match that was just so amazing, just to see the humanity and see to see King Kong Bundy, Andre the Giant, all of these guys in there all at once, and it has always just been a lore. And what really changed, what made the Royal Rumble so great, was the countdown, anticipation of who's going to come out next. When you think of moments, it's like, I'll never forget, the Royal Rumble, and all of a sudden you hear the Bushwhackers music, and the guy comes running down, doing his walk down the thing. He slides into the ring, he gets
thrown out of the ring,
thrown right out, and he just runs right up the ramp the same way.
Right.
And it's just the anticipation. In high school, when we had that group, we used to bet, like we used to take 30 guys, and everyone drew a number.
Right.
And that was, and you at that time it was high school, so I think we all put in $5 or whatever, and whoever picked the number of the winner, won. And I remember the time we did that, the first time we did that, the guy that got either number 2 or 3, I think it was 3. He was the richest kid in our high school, and he picked the number, and he got number 3. And he was like, "Oh, geez, I got number 3." And then I pick, and I get 29. And I'm all excited. Well, he got Ric Flair, and that was that amazing Royal Rumble with Bobby the Brain Heenan announcing,
the best one ever, in my opinion.
And Flair made it the whole way. And my Sid Justice at 29 did not even factor into the decision.
Yeah, well, he did in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a hell of a day. That was my favorite Royal Rumble, by the way, the '92 Rumble with Flair winning the whole thing. And I like, what I liked about it the best, it wasn't the fact, like, they could have put him in there as number 1 or number 2, but they didn't. They put him in there as number 3, which just seemed random, even though it wasn't. It seemed more random to me than some of these other picks that they do nowadays. It's like, oh, well, who's coming in at number 30? I wonder who, but yeah, back then it was really, you'd had no idea who was coming through that curtain.
And now they've made a shift to the people that early on, they I think they had more winners from the early numbers than they do today.
Yeah.
Now they have people last really long, the 1s, the 2s, the 3s, but they're generally not winning it anymore. But back in the day, I remember seeing a stat like 15 years ago, and it was like the breakdown of all the number entries that won. And it was all over the map. It was everything from 1 to 30, and everything in between. There was 21s, there was 16s, there was, so I think it's a lot more random now. I think maybe they become risk averse, that they don't want anything to go wrong.
Yeah. That's probably it.
Someone, hand slipping off the rope and going out that was supposed to last, 2 hours and go from number 2 to win it.
Right. Whoops.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, whoopses have happened in Royal Rumble history before,
Well, I'm sure
you're supposed to do the planned spot where both men touch the floor at the same time. And I think there was one where they didn't, but yeah.
There was one where they did, and I was there.
Was that Hart Michaels?
Not knowing who won.
Was that Hart Michaels?
Yeah, Hart Michaels. Yeah. That was, if I'm remembering properly, I think I was there. I think it was Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
In New York, and I was there, and we left the arena that day not knowing who won.
Yeah,
because they did not announce the winner.
That's insane, because the viewers at home didn't really know who won either until the next day. That was the whole gig, but
right.
I mean, that's an interesting question. When you see something like that on a show or on a pay-per-view, and it's literally the biggest match on the card, one of the biggest shows of the year, and you don't get a winner, how mad are the fans in that arena that they didn't get a winner? Was there any anger at all?
Arena, I don't think there was much anger.
Okay.
I think it was more like, hey, how come they didn't announce it? Like people walking out into New York City that night. I remember everyone saying, how come they didn't announce a winner? What happened?
Yeah, so it was confusing.
That was long enough ago that there aren't freaking 20-story jumbotrons in these arenas.
Right.
So not everyone had the angle to see that they basically hit at the same time, or they didn't. I was on the other side of the ring. I was about 12 rows up in the first section, just where the arena started to go up, because I didn't want to be on the floor where you really can't get a view of everything unless you're in the first or second row. So I always used to get like 10 rows up right near the ring, but I was on the opposite side of where they tumbled over. So I didn't know.
Wow, that's insane. And I guess you don't think about that, but it's true. The fans in the attendance may not always know what's going on during the show at any given time.
Yeah, because you don't have the announcers.
Yeah.
You don't
like
for example, I'm glad I wasn't at that Flair Royal Rumble. Because Bobby the Brain Heenan was genius.
He was
in that.
Yeah, I would challenge anybody. If you don't think Bobby the Brain Heenan was the best in the ring ever, I'm sorry, not in the ring, but the best ever to do it, fuck that. In the ring too. He was the greatest in the ring. He was the greatest on the mic. He was the greatest in the ring. He was one of my top 5 of all time. Yeah.
See, I mean, I still love JR as far as my favorite announcer of all time. He's my favorite, but Bobby was great, because remember, and I don't think they still do it with the announcers, but I don't think they do it as clearly as they used to about having the heel and the good guy announcers. They have that, but there are so many today that are kind of play both sides of the fence. And Heenan was so clear. Heenan was also the manager, I believe, for Ric Flair at the time. So obviously he was completely impartial.
Yeah, I think he was like the special counsel or advisor or something. He was Kurt Hennig was
Roman Reigns, that kind of thing.
Yeah. But it was a great time, and you're right. That's my favorite Rumble. But I agree. Bobby Heenan, in my humble estimation, is the GOAT when it comes to that. You're a big JR fan, and I get that. Look, I love JR too. He's fabulous on that stick, and unfortunately, he's getting up there in years, and
that's sad. That's actually sad. One of the reasons I started watching AEW. One was you turned me on to it,
right?
But as soon as I found out he was on it, I'm like, okay, I can watch just for that.
Oh yeah.
But then he's not on it enough now.
Yeah, no, he had to step away recently. His doctor advised him not to do it. So, to be honest, I don't know. I don't know how much longer he's got to be able to do it, but I don't wish him any harm. In fact, I wish him all the best, because again, like you, he's part of the soundtrack of my life.
Yeah, and he's and there's always Peacock, because
yes,
they got all any match you want. It's on demand now.
Yeah,
it's whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I can't remember, and I'm struggling to think now if JR called a match for AEW after All Out. I don't think he did. I think that's been how long it's been, and that was in September. So, all the best to JR. Yeah. Hopefully you come out of things all right, buddy.
Yeah, we know you're listening, JR. That's
right. He's got us cranked up on over. He's got us right on the TV, right on the YouTube. He's got us there. So let's shift gears a little bit, and we could probably talk about, all of our favors and all of our histories and all the things we love about wrestling. But I want to shift gears a little bit, and I want to talk a little bit about Survivor Series that's coming up here in the next week, right? We're Saturday. Is it 6 days from now?
From today.
Week from today. That's it. And Survivor Series has always been one of my favorite shows of the year. I was always a big fan of the traditional, 5-on-5 Survivor Series matches, where you'd get, the Hulkamaniacs, the Mega Hulkamaniacs versus, the Macho Kings or whoever, right? It would be crazy. It'd be awesome fun like that, 5-on-5. And they would all they would have like matching outfits and stuff. It would just be silly and fun. I used to like that, but then I grew up and then I started watching it for more sane reasons. And I like the concept of doing like this traditional 5-on-5 series matches. And I like the way they updated it. But I like the fact that they don't really do that anymore because it doesn't work in today's environment. I don't think it does. It's a lot like the Lethal Lottery in WCW, where it was a thing where you spin this big drum and you'd have to pick random tag team partners and go out there. And in one case, they made it actually random, which sucked terribly. And in one case, they gimmicked it, which looked hokey. So, and I guess that's my point, there's really no way to ungimmick a silly gimmick like that. So maybe there is, maybe I'm just not, but go ahead.
I like it the way it used to be, where it was just a 5-on-5, or it seems like now it's more 4-on-4.
Yeah.
But I think the challenge and why it didn't stay the way it always did at the original Survivor Series is the fact that you're putting all the big names in these matches with no title on the line. And that was always like right now you're going to have, all of these people with really obviously, Cody, Jay, Seth, and Sami Zayn versus, the Bloodline and, or Damian Priest, not the Bloodline, Damian Priest, Finn, JD. There can be no title.
Yeah.
So it's hard to take 8 or 10 top storyline people out of a title storyline.
Yeah, out of a meaningless feud or a meaningful feud. Yeah.
I think that's really where it came. But I like it. I don't know if I need the 2 rings and the steel cage, and I actually
the war games.
Yeah, I like the elimination side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Where as you're eliminated, you sent back, so it can be 5-on-1 or 4-on-2 or
right.
Things like that they've gotten rid of that, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the truth of the matter is the Elimination Chamber, that's what you're referring to, right? The Elimination Chamber was actually WWE's response to War Games. They didn't have War Games until they dusted it off from the WCW
The
library.
original Survivor Series had eliminations.
It did, yeah, it did.
Yep. Where you were sent back.
You were sent back, and then you were, that's right, they did. They were sent to the back, and you couldn't come back, and then at the end, all the survivors got together, and then they fought, and you had one survivor. Is that right?
Well, no. I mean, you had it until one team was left.
Oh,
so you fought until there were. So, for example, there could have been a Survivor Series match where all 5 on one side survived.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So it was like, so it started off 5-on-5, but then a pinfall happened, and then it became 5-on-4.
Yeah,
but it was still only one person versus one person in the ring at once.
Yeah.
But then when they go to this, like the War Games and everything, and they have to have 2 rings because now you have 8 people in the ring. You're not tagging in. Originally, Survivor Series was a tag format.
Right. Yeah. And I'm sorry, I got you mistaken earlier from like the elimination. I thought you were comparing it to Elimination Chamber, and that's my fault. But
right.
But no, War Games was a WCW creation. That was a Dusty Rhodes thing. Dusty created that years ago in WCW to great effect. And in a way, it was kind of like their Royal Rumble, where you had, 4 horsemen on one end, and you had Dusty and Sting and, all the good guys over here on the other end. And one by one, 2 guys would start in the ring, and then every 2 minutes, somebody would come in, and you'd flip a coin to see who got the first trick. And usually it was always the heels who got the first entry in, and they could beat the hero down 2-on-1 for a while until he got some help. But that's what it did. It created that tension, that drama. Who's going in next, and what's going to happen next? And then finally, when everybody was in the ring all together at the same time, then the match begins. That was the match beyond, right? And the match went on until somebody quit or got pinned, I think. But yeah, that was War Games, and I could see WWE gravitating towards that being their new war, because it just makes sense to me. It just makes logical sense to me, I guess. Nothing better than surviving a war, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, there you go. Anywho, let's talk a little bit about some of the matches that we'll be seeing. Speaking of War Games, we've got the men coming up. We've got Cody, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and Seth freaking Rollins versus the Judgment Day and JD McDonough. And I'm sure that we're all going to be stuck to the wall, because I've got a proposition for you after the fact, Mr. Kind Man. But
Okay.
with regards to the Survivor Series outcome, but what do you predict early on? What are your early predictions for that War Games match? And they don't have to be who's going to win or who's going to lose. You can just make a prediction about what's going to happen.
Yeah, I guess I would say in this one, because they just added JD to the Judgment Day officially. But you're starting to see some splintering in the Judgment Day, and I don't know if that storyline continues here. It may or may not. I don't know. I do have a prediction for how the Judgment Day all kind of comes out here over the next few months. We're coming up on a time where, eventually Damian Priest has to cash in that damn briefcase.
Right.
It's at some point. And I think that you're starting to see some fracturing. My prediction is you're going to start seeing more storylines around Dominic Mysterio, and probably a lack of interest for Rhea for him. They've already kind of hinted to that.
Yeah.
My prediction is actually that I think Damian and Rhea Ripley go off together. Finn and JD go off together, and Dom's kind of left out in the cold.
Could be.
You might see some sort of maybe come to where he's begging back to get into his real family. I don't know. They've made him so bad. I think that's a huge spin.
Yeah, you'd have to have a huge turn to negotiate that. But
yeah. So that's kind of where my head's at on the whole thing. But
Right.
We all like to make these predictions and kind of see where things are headed.
Do you know what I think WWE could do? I'm not sorry to cut you off, but I just popped into my head. But do you know what I think would be interesting storytelling for WWE to do? They won't do it, by the way, and this won't happen. But you touched on it earlier. I would love to see Damian Priest cash in Money in the Bank during the War Games match. He's got Seth Rollins out to a vulnerable point. He tries to cash in, and during that scenario, he has to win the match, because if he doesn't, well then,
Right, but I think it would have to be post-match.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah.
Post-match, right.
Because
He'd
the match
cash
would have
it
to
in.
be over. But then, obviously, and I could see that happening, because they keep making up reasons why he can't cash it in.
Yeah.
Whether it's Rhea Ripley says tonight's not the night,
Yeah.
or whatever the case may be, or Sami Zayn steals the briefcase from him before
Right.
he can cash it in.
Right.
One night, they keep making these things. Generally, when people cash these in, they are fresh.
Yeah.
The other person is beat down. So the fact that he would be involved in this match, if Seth were to take the pinfall or whatever, the last, end up losing the match and got really beat up, I could see it possibly happening.
Yeah.
From the storyline, they're telling Damian Priest is chomping at the bit to
Oh,
cash
yeah.
that thing.
Yeah. I think but there's a way for them to do it, right? And you're right.
Yeah.
Most of the time, these guys coming in, they're fresh. But in this case, I don't think Damian has to be fresh. I just think he has to be opportunistic.
Yeah. No, I could see that happening this
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah. And that would be something fun and interesting and exciting that would happen. typically on a Survivor Series show, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there always usually one thing, big thing that happens on the show that you would be like, wow, that was neat. I didn't expect that. And maybe we can get into that later, but yeah.
I think they generally do, because if you're thinking about the time of year,
yes,
they're doing one huge twist, because of the fact that now you're leading into the end of the year, you're, transitioning to the Royal Rumble. There's not much going on in December, so you're transitioning to the Royal Rumble and then the road to WrestleMania. So having a big twist, I've read some things about one of the matches potentially going from, this match potentially going from 4-on-4 to 5-on-5. And maybe that's where the twist comes.
Right.
They're speculating a little bit that maybe what's his name? The Scottish big guy.
Oh, Drew McIntyre.
Drew McIntyre might end up on the Judgment Day team. And then there's been some speculation that could it be CM Punk being reintroduced?
I didn't say it.
In Chicago.
Yeah.
As the fifth member of the Good Guy team. There's also speculation that Randy Orton might be coming back.
Sure.
So maybe that is something.
Well, I'll tell you right now, just off the bat, if it is CM Punk, if he comes back, right, you are going to see everyone in that arena shit their pants simultaneously. It is going to be batshit insane. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be CM Punk. That'd be nice if it was.
I just read that in a Bleacher Report article.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Punk. I really doubt that's going to be the case. But stranger things have happened. I could be wrong, but I would be 99.99999% sure. I'd put my AB's lock of the week on it. Boom, CM Punk will not be at Survivor Series.
The one thing the article did speculate on was, if it's CM Punk, he won't be announced until the music goes.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. They won't do that. Yeah.
If it's someone else, the WWE will most likely announce it pre-match, because they don't want the disappointment from the Chicago crowd of being surprised with Randy Orton instead of could
you imagine?
So what it said was, well, if Orton and Drew McIntyre are going to be in the match, that's probably going to be announced beforehand.
Right.
If it's a surprise who's coming in, it's probably going to be CM Punk.
Yeah.
And I can see that logic.
Yeah. I'm with you. I can see that logic too, but there are things working behind the scenes that I don't think is going to line up for this. Yeah. I don't think it's that time. I just don't. I don't know. I hate to, I'm not going to turn this into a CM Punk segment, but gosh darn, he might be done.
Yeah, I don't know you pay attention. I've never been a CM Punk guy, and I know you are.
Yeah.
So I haven't really paid attention to the controversy or why he didn't work out at the last place and what's going on.
We can do a whole episode on CM Punk later if you really want to. That'll be a fun one. But no, suffice to say, I don't see Punk showing up, but who knows? Stranger things have happened. All right. War Games match for the women this time. We've got Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, Shotzi, and Becky Lynch versus Damage Control, which comprises Asuka, Bayley, Kairi Sane, and Io Sky. And I have never not looked forward to a War Games match as much as I have not looked forward to this one. Nothing about this interests me or says, wow, you've got to see this match more to me. And I don't know who that's an indictment on, but.
Okay, so I'll disagree with you. And I'm looking forward to this one more than the men's one.
Okay.
So the storyline that they're starting to get into is Bayley.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of Bayley got surprised when Kairi Sane came in and helped Io Sky hold on to her belt. Bayley got surprised by Asuka turning and joining this faction, because Bailey was kind of known as the leader of it.
Yeah.
And she's been surprised to all of the new additions that she has nothing to do with and really didn't have any say in. So they're making a shift where something's going to happen with Bailey in this match.
Yeah, I feel that too.
And I listen, I love, Charlotte Flair is great. She's just a great athlete, and I love watching her wrestle. I've been pleasantly surprised by Io Sky, and how good she has been. I have always liked Asuka in the ring.
Oh yeah, me too.
I mean, she's really, really good. And I have not seen much Kairi Sane. So, I'll be, I'm not big on Shotzi. Becky's okay.
Sure.
I called that one, by the way, before she got announced to the ring. I'm like, has to be Becky. And then 10 seconds later, her music went off. But yeah, I am looking forward to that one. I'm not as big on the Judgment Day, and like I just don't find any of them all that entertaining. Other than maybe like in ring or outside the ring, I don't find any of them all that intriguing. Rhea Ripley is probably the best character out of all of them.
Yeah.
So that match, and Seth Rollins teamed with Cody doesn't feel right. So there's just the men's match actually is the get up to grab a beer match for me.
That's probably going to close the show. You know that, right?
Yeah, I know. I know. Well,
right.
They don't write these scripts for the kind man.
No, they don't.
They write them for the vast majority. But I'll have my butt on the cushion with the women's match for sure.
Right. Yeah. I suppose the reason that I'm not looking forward to it as much is because I kind of know what's going to happen. Here's what, Bailey's definitely something's going to happen with Bailey. I think she's going to get ganged up on by her teammates. I don't know what you would call them, but teammates or stablemates or pals. I think they're going to leave her hanging. That's what I think is going to happen. I think that's what's going to be the case. Maybe I'm wrong.
But the only thing I ask the creative team at the WWE not to do, please, for just the love of God, do not bring back the old Bailey character.
I would like that better. Can I be honest?
No, not the goofy one.
Oh no! Come on, no. She looks like. Come on. I don't like the way she looks. I don't like the way she acts anymore. She comes to the ring and she kind of looks like a soccer mom. She's going to pick her kids up from practice, and that's not intimidating to me. Nothing says, well, look out. Well, I guess it depends on what your mom is like, but yeah.
I don't think they have big plans for her.
I don't think so either. I think they're just kind of, twisting her in the wind, which is sad because that's an indictment. She's way, way, way better in the ring than, 85% of the other roster, arguably. Just my opinion. But, all right, moving on. And we've got Rhea Ripley versus Zoe Stark for the Women's World Championship.
Yeah, I don't see really any outcome other than Rhea Ripley winning.
I don't either. Yeah.
And by the way, Zoe Stark's been great, and she's just not a character that resonates with me at all.
Sure.
She's good in ring.
Oh yeah. No, I mean she's got a great look. I think she looks like a wrestler. But yeah, I'm picking
much to her detriment for me.
Much to her detriment. No. No. So
they're like a little curves.
There's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, I think we're both in agreement on Rhea Ripley. Gunther versus The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship. I don't see that going Miz's way. I don't think that's going to happen. I think you're going to continue to see Gunther be the ring general. Is that how they say it? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Ring general.
I just don't know what would be the point of, is it some Miz victory lap before he retires?
Yeah.
I don't see those types of streaks ending for something that would be like, why would they do that?
Yeah.
Like for example, like when not Damian Priest, when what's his name? Champion. The bloodline leader. Right?
Oh,
Why
Roman
am I
Reigns.
Yeah, Roman Reigns. Why see that, by the way, that wasn't really a mistake. Like, I think Roman Reigns is a snore. I really do.
Yeah.
I just, there's just nothing that gets me going about Roman Reigns,
Yeah,
from
same
in
here.
ring to out ring to anything, and to have him maintain the title, like there has to be a story at this point to rip that belt from him. Same as Gunther and like basically someone on the 18th green of their WWE career, breaking the Gunther reign doesn't
Right.
make any sense. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. One that made all the sense in the world that they didn't do was Cody Rhodes beating
Yes.
Roman Reigns. Like, that made all the sense in the world
Yeah, it
to
did.
break that streak, send everyone home happy.
Yeah.
And and I'm not big on, hey, let's do it for the good guys and everything,
Right.
but that made all the sense in the world, finishing the story of his father and all of this stuff, to do it then.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
you see some of these other people they're rolling out to face Roman Reigns, and you're like, well, if that wasn't compelling enough to break the streak,
Right. What
this
is?
sure as shit ain't.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Cody Rhodes, here's a kid, came back to WWE to great fanfare, worked his tail off to get there, went into the ring, got injured doing a workout, ripped his pec, wrestled a match in a Hell in a Cell match with a ripped pec, came back from that, and that's still not enough adversity for him, right? Give me a fucking break.
It's like, okay, how much, like, what's the, like, now I'm saying for Cody, what's the story they got to tell for him to win?
Right,
Like it's like you had it kind of on a platter there, and you didn't take it. So
Yeah.
what's it going to happen to him? Does he have to tear his quad and his pec?
Yeah, well, yeah. Maybe they're going to pull the trigger on him this year. Who knows?
Yeah.
But maybe it's a day late and a dollar short, isn't it? I
Well,
mean,
and also think about it, his documentary coming out. Like, how perfect would that have been to end the documentary like that?
yeah,
But you have this 2-hour documentary produced by the
yeah,
WWE, right? So they have the best interest in the doc. And by the way, the documentary was fantastic. And for anyone that hasn't seen it, go watch it on Peacock.
I agree.
But it was the perfect ending to this documentary you are producing, a storybook ending to your documentary. Like, it just,
Yeah,
like, to me, that pointed all sense in the world. And now, like, so now to flip that, what fucking sense does the Miz beating Gunther like make?
none.
No, I mean, listen, we
Nada.
all know that there have been results that were curious, like,
Sure.
but like, what storyline does Miz now become in the forefront? They've already replaced him.
Yeah.
With what's his name? Why am I drawing blanks on all these names today? Grayson Waller. They've
Oh
replaced
yeah.
Grayson Waller. He is the Miz. He's the young Miz.
Yeah.
And he's going to play you're going to see Grayson Waller have the exact same WWE career the Miz had. And by the way, if you're Grayson Waller, you should be thrilled with that. Because the Miz has had a very good career. Whether you like him or you don't, I mean, he's been interesting enough to write into Intercontinental Championships over and over and over, and even bigger matches too. But yeah, Grayson Waller is going to be the Miz. That's really what it comes down to. Start off with a talk show, decent in ring, heel. that's really never going to probably become a good guy. And that's fine.
Yeah.
I'd sign up for the Miz's career.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
The Miz.
Sure.
Fucking who knows? Miz.
I'm not into blondes, but I wouldn't throw Maurice out of bed for eating crackers.
Well, she's French, or is she
yeah.
I think she is French Canadian.
I believe she's French Canadian.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that either.
No.
That's hot.
I'm 1/4 French Canadian.
Are you really?
I am.
Wow. Then parlez-vous. I don't know what the thing to say in French is, but my French is rusty.
I used to be fluent in French Canadian. I lost it though.
Right. I can't talk about any parlez-vous.
Parlez-vous français.
Yeah, parlez-vous français. Right? Is that what they say?
Do you speak French?
Parlez-vous poutine? Yeah. No. All right. Let's see. The next match that's been, I think this is the last match that's officially been announced, is Carlito versus Santos Escobar. And I don't know a whole lot about Santos Escobar, but I know, quite a bit about Carlito. And I think it's sad because I think they're putting the boots behind Santos Escobar right now. So if I'm making a prediction, I'm saying it. Carlito's probably going to eat a pin tonight. Or that night, yeah.
Yeah, Santos Escobar just turned heel against Rey Mysterio. And they were kind of setting it up, looking like I was thinking Carlito was going to be the heel, and then they flipped it.
Yeah.
Because and by the way, I saw it when the match happened, when Santos Escobar put down the brass knuckles in the ring for some reason.
Right.
After stealing them from the lackey that was helping, that social media guy, all of a sudden you put it down in the ring, after you went out there to steal it. So I saw when Carlito came out and kind of called him out for that, that it was kind of like, Ray is always like, oh no, don't blame anyone. Mistakes happen.
Right.
Rey Mysterio being the all-time never turned heel good guy.
Perennial good guy, right?
Oh yeah, just never a chance to do anything else. That, when Carlito called him out for that, it could have gone the other way, where they could have made Carlito the heel. And by the way, I loved seeing Carlito back.
Me too.
I loved when he first came out. He spit in the face of people that don't want to be cool.
Yeah. Why didn't they keep his music? Why didn't they do that? That was iconic.
I think they did when he first came out.
Yeah.
I think they used the same background music of his song.
Yeah, the entrance music.
But they didn't have the verbiage. I spit in the face of people that don't want to be cool. I think they did play the same little theme behind that, but they didn't make him the kind of the heel, that spits apple in people's face. But yeah, I would say that this is probably a Santos Escobar storyline more than Carlito. I mean, Carlito, you think about it, how long a break he had. Where did he go after WWE?
He went back down to Puerto Rico. He wrestled, down there. His dad, his father was a wrestler, and still promotes down there to this day. So, Carlos Colon.
He was gone for what, a decade?
Yeah, better part of one. 12, 13 years, 14.
Yeah.
So, good long while. All right. I think is that all the matches that we're going to have that have been announced so far?
Sikoa versus LA Knight.
Yeah, that's not been announced for sure, though, has it?
I don't know. I read it on a card.
Did you? Okay, maybe it has been announced. Maybe my information is out of date. By the way, I didn't get to watch.
Maybe it wasn't announced, but it's kind of, you see it coming.
You can see it coming.
He's going to beat each member of the bloodline to get back to Roman.
Yeah, you can see it. So yeah, Solo versus LA Knight. Let's talk about that a little bit. This is a really tough one because do you keep Solo's momentum going, or do you try to make up for any lost momentum that LA Knight had from his loss?
Yeah, I don't. see, Solo Sikoa to me, when you say momentum, I say
Yeah.
kind of what momentum, because like the only thing worse than John Cena's performance in that last match was his having to watch constant commercials for Wipeout. Uh,
Wipe out.
no, like what's worse, John Cena in his last in-ring appearance versus Solo Sikoa, or John Cena in Wipeout commercials? Yeah, no, I think they kind of, you can't start them down the path of saying I'm going to beat every member of the bloodline,
Mm-hmm.
right, to get back to Roman Reigns, and then not have him get through the second run.
Sure. Sure.
I think, to me, that's what I'm thinking. And Solo's kind of
He is
like
kind of meh.
he's the ultimate like bodyguard.
He is. He's good at that. But he is kind of mad. And I'm hearkening back to, Happy Heyman talking about, Solo Sikoa. He's the reason John Cena's not here. And the crowd boos.
John Cena can't speak.
Right.
Anymore.
He can't talk anymore.
Yeah,
and I mean, so Heyman is really building.
By the way, I wish that was the truth. but
you wish that was the truth?
Yeah, I'm like, listen, no, I've never been a Cena guy.
Right.
And by the way, I was on the camp that Cena was going to beat Solo.
Yeah, so was I.
And then call it quits.
Yeah. I really thought he was going to have, that was going to be his last victory lap.
Like if they, and it's so annoying to hear everyone on the broadcast keep referring to him as the GOAT.
Yeah.
Please stop. But it was kind of like, okay, everyone's referring to him as the GOAT. And then to have him have his last match, or what we assume might be his last match, going out with such a whimper. It's like, hey, Ric Flair ain't going out in his last match like that.
Well,
it's yeah. No.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. It's, you don't ever want to see it, turn embarrassing.
Right. And I mean, he, like, generally in those matches you have back and forth. That match was just kind of like they didn't even give him like a 90 seconds of
zero offense. He just, here you go, get out there and get squashed. Thank you very much. Here's your check. Look, and if I was John Cena, and this is just the business side of me talking, but if I was John Cena, I'd be like, you know what? For the amount of money that you're paying me to do this little string, you can pin me every single night. I don't care, because I'm going to go back to Hollywood and make more.
That's the thing. Like, that's why, like, if you think about that, like Cena, like what's the point for Cena coming back to make that amount of money? It's like The Rock.
Yeah.
Why would I come back to potentially hurt myself or to get beat up when I can just go do the freaking Tooth Fairy and make 30 times what I'd make in WWE?
Like, sure. By the way, I think you're over exaggerating the profits that the Tooth Fairy made. I'm just saying. And no, but I don't know.
Yeah, if there's one thing we could agree on, just don't call him the GOAT anymore.
Yeah, don't call him the GOAT anymore.
And by the way, that has nothing to do with his loss to Solo Sikoa. That has to do with the whole body of work. I wouldn't even put John Cena on my Mount Rushmore of wrestlers, much less the greatest of all time.
Yeah, you would think that would be my favorite John Cena match, but no. No. So, anyways, I think those are all the matches that we have lined up for Survivor Series at this point. I think that covers everything.
I think you covered it.
Yeah, and so we're going to be doing our predictions, our honest to goodness predictions, and before we close out the show today, and I'm going to get so I have a little adorable kitty cat. Her name is Bird, and she's on my lap, and I have to get her up. I'm so sorry, kitty cat. Papa's got to cut a promo. So you showed me yours. Now I'm going to show you mine. This right here. This. You see it?
Yep.
This is the World Prediction Heavyweight Championship. I won this for beating you 4 times in a row.
Is it 4 or 5?
4.
Okay.
I am the 4-time prediction, pay-per-view prediction match guy, guesser guy. That's me, the winner, the champion. And I'm challenging you. I'm throwing down this, my championship belt, that says you can't out-predict me for Survivor Series. What do you say, hombre?
Listen, I'm in. Obviously, I'm on a little bit of a losing streak. It started last year at the Royal Rumble. It started not necessarily with predictions. We started it by taking evens and odds.
We did
on the 30 entrants, and it got down to 7 entries, 7 people in the ring, and 6 of them were odds, which I had odds.
right.
So I had 6 people left, and the old school AB had 1 left, and his won.
That's all it takes.
That started a downward spiral of our gambling on pay-per-views, where I have provided him with action figures, mini belts, and all kinds of fun things for each of my losses.
That's right.
So he's gotten everything from a Gene Simmons and Santa Claus Christmas
right back
double
there.
action figure to a mini $1 million champion belt,
Which is right there as well. It's also sitting right next to Christmas.
So we always put something on the line for most of the major pay-per-views, and we've taken a little bit of a break, giving me a chance to recover from my torn pack of predictions. And we'll be back for Survivor Series.
That's right. We'll be back for Survivor. And here's my hope, right? I feel bad because I don't want to keep taking your stuff. So that's why I went out and got this. And I figured what we could do is, and I may even make a little inscription in here in the back of the belt, right? Little tick marks for how many I've won. And when I do, I'm going to send this to you.
Okay.
Until I beat you, and then you send it back to me. You see how that works? You get to declare yourself the champion, but only when you beat me for it.
Yeah, well, of course.
There you go.
I certainly cannot consider myself a champion today. So what have we done? We did obviously the Royal Rumble last year.
Yeah, we did that. WrestleMania.
We did WrestleMania.
Yep. Which one did we do? We didn't do Money in the Bank or anything. We did one of the.
I think we did Money in the Bank.
Did we?
Yeah, I think we did.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I do, because I remember that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we did one other one. I don't think we did SummerSlam.
No, we didn't do SummerSlam. That was when you were like, stop, enough.
Yeah.
So, no.
I tapped out
for
SummerSlam.
Yeah, but I'm reviving it in this way. Nobody has to spend a dime anymore ever again. And, well, I suppose the only money you're going to spend is, the shipping costs. But yeah.
That's
so
fine.
This will travel back and forth. So that way we don't have to worry too much about
just the pain of one of us having to put that in some mothballs and pack it up should be enough.
Sufficient, right? That's what I thought. And it's actually a nicer toy belt. It's got nice real leather to it, and it's got studded, so it's gonna last a while, folks. But yeah, it's one of the nicer toys, made in China. So there you go. That's the challenge. And we should, by the time we do another ABW, know the results, because it'll be next week. So, and of course, we'll also be talking about the results live on the air. Anyways, I don't know that I have anything else for us to talk about today. Biff, kind man, what do you got?
Nothing. I'll just leave it with a have a nice day.
Have a nice day indeed. Thanks everybody for showing up. If you like what you see here, please consider hitting the like button, subscribing, giving that thumbs up, all that good jazz. It really helps us out on the channel. And by the way, I want to let you know out there that you're my favorite. Yes, you're my favorite. Come back again and see us real soon, okay? Thanks, everybody. Take care.